They came for silk and left carrying something far more dangerous: a belief, a god, an idea that no army could stop at the border. Empires that once fought for land were about to fight for souls. This is how faith conquered the Silk Road. The Silk Road was built to carry silk, spices, and gold across the width of the known world. But among the merchants walked travelers carrying something that could not be weighed, taxed, or sold, that in northern India. Buddhism had grown from a small teaching into a faith spreading across entire kingdoms. Buddhist monks began traveling east, following the same trade routes merchants had spent generations building. The Kushan Empire, sitting at the crossroads of Asia, became the first great gateway for this new faith. Kushan kings embraced Buddhism openly, minting coins that blended Greek artistry with Buddhist symbolism and meaning. Monks traveled without weapons or wealth, relying entirely on the same caravans merchants used for trade. The road ahead was as dangerous for monks as it had been for any merchant or soldier. Yet these monks carried something merchants often lacked: patience, humility, and an unshakable sense of purpose. Slowly, faith itself began crossing borders that armies and emperors had spent decades trying to control. The first Buddhist temples in China were small, humble structures built far from the imperial capital. Foreign monks worked tirelessly translating sacred texts into Chinese, bridging two languages that had never truly met. Scholars and officials began studying these translated teachings, curious about ideas so different from their own traditions. Dunhuang, already a hub of trade, quickly became a hub of faith as well, welcoming travelers of every belief. Near Dunhuang, devoted travelers began carving sacred caves directly into the cliffs above the desert. These caves became shrines, quiet places of worship carved by hand into solid desert stone. Over time, hundreds of these caves would rise along the cliffs, each one a monument to devotion. Buddhism was not traveling alone. Zoroastrian fire altars appeared wherever Persian merchants settled along the route. Zoroastrianism, one of the world's oldest faiths, found new communities among Persian traders across Central Asia. From the west came Nestorian Christians, missionaries and merchants carrying their own faith deep into Asia. Within a single city, travelers could pass a Buddhist temple, a fire altar, and a Christian church. Remarkably, these faiths coexisted peacefully, bound together by the shared rhythms of trade and travel. The Silk Road had become something rare in history, a corridor where belief could travel without conquest. Faith was spreading not through armies or decrees, but through the same caravans that carried silk. Eventually, word of this growing faith reached the one place capable of transforming it entirely: the imperial court. Certain Chinese emperors, drawn to Buddhism's teachings, began offering official support and imperial patronage to the faith. With imperial backing, Buddhist art and architecture grew far beyond anything the early monks could have imagined. Massive statues, carved directly into cliffs and mountainsides, announced the faith's presence to every passing traveler. The Mogeo caves near Dunhuang. Artisans filled walls and ceilings with elaborate, breathtaking religious murals. Each cave told a story, preserving scripture and devotion in color that would last for centuries. Wealthy merchants funded their own private caves, believing devotion would bring protection. Along their dangerous journeys, pilgrims began traveling the Silk Road not for trade, but purely for prayer, blessing, and pilgrimage. Monasteries grew into sprawling complexes, complete with libraries, schools, and halls dedicated entirely to translation. Legendary translators devoted their entire lives to carrying Buddhist wisdom accurately from one language to another. Some monks reversed the journey entirely, traveling west to study Buddhism at its original source in India. These pilgrimages took years, crossing the same deadly terrain that had once tested Zhang Qian himself. Those who survived the journey returned home with scriptures, relics, and knowledge that reshaped Chinese Buddhism entirely. Their journeys became legendary, inspiring generations of pilgrims to walk the same sacred road westward to be the height of the Tang dynasty. Buddhism had become deeply woven into the fabric of Chinese life. Grand religious festivals filled the streets, drawing worshippers from every level of Chinese society. Dachang in itself became a living crossroads of faith, home to Buddhists, Zoroastrians, Christians, and eventually Muslims. Nestorian Christianity received official recognition, with churches and monuments erected within the walls of the capital that a stone monument was carved, permanently recording the arrival and acceptance of Christianity within the Chinese Empire. Zoroastrian communities thrived as well, maintaining their ancient fire rituals within dedicated temples across the city. Islam, still young but rapidly expanding, began arriving through merchants traveling the same ancient trade networks. For the first time in history, major world religions coexisted openly within a single thriving city. Scholars from different traditions debated openly, exchanging ideas with a curiosity rarely seen anywhere else. The Mogao Caves reached their artistic peak, standing as one of the greatest religious monuments in the world. Religious art transformed Chinese aesthetics entirely, influencing painting, sculpture, and architecture far beyond temple walls. What began with a handful of wandering monks had become a spiritual network spanning the entire continent. Tang emperors personally visited great monasteries, publicly demonstrating the empire's deep respect for Buddhist teachings. Grand processions carried sacred relics through the capital, drawing enormous crowds eager to witness such devotion. Monasteries grew wealthy, accumulating land, gold, and influence that rivaled powerful noble families across the empire. Some monasteries became so vast they functioned almost like independent cities within the Tang Empire itself. Foreign travelers marveled at the empire's religious diversity, calling it unlike anywhere else in the known world. New printing techniques allowed sacred texts to spread faster and farther than any translator could have imagined. For a brief, extraordinary period, faith and empire seemed to rise together, each strengthening the other. That it seemed, for a moment, that this harmony between faiths and empire might simply continue forever. But growing monastic wealth had begun quietly troubling officials who depended on taxes the temples no longer paid. Monasteries, exempt from taxation, controlled increasing amounts of land the empire desperately needed for revenue. Did a new emperor, more suspicious of foreign faiths, began listening closely to advisors demanding drastic action. That in 845 CE, an imperial edict ordered the widespread destruction of Buddhist monasteries across the entire empire. Thousands of monasteries were closed, their land seized, their treasures melted down for the imperial treasury. Tens of thousands of monks and nuns were forced to abandon monastic life and return to secular society. Centuries of religious art and devotion were destroyed within months, a golden age crumbling under imperial decree. Zoroastrian and Nestorian communities suffered as well, caught within the same wave of religious suppression. That desperation. Some monks hid their most sacred texts, sealing them away deep within protected caves. What had taken centuries to build was silenced within a single, brutal wave of imperial suspicion. That time. Later rulers softened these restrictions, allowing faith to slowly, carefully rebuild what had been lost. Buddhism never fully recovered its former political power, but its spiritual roots proved impossible to erase. Centuries later, one sealed cave near Dunhuang would be rediscovered, its treasures perfectly preserved by time. Inside were tens of thousands of scrolls, paintings, and manuscripts representing centuries of faith along the road. Today, the Mogao Caves stand as one of the greatest surviving records of faith's journey along the Silk Road. Empires rose and fell, and even faiths were persecuted. Yet belief itself never truly left this road. Next time, on the entire history of the Silk Road, the Mongols arrive, and the entire world changes.